Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com here with the Samsung Galaxy Indulge 4G from Metro PCS. It's the first 4G LTE Android smartphone available on the market. So it ships with Android 2.2, has a 1 GHz Hummingbird processor, and like I said, it's a 4G phone. So I've been testing it out for about a week now. I've been testing out Metro PCS 4G network. I'm very impressed with the speed so far. I'm going to do a full review and go into more detail and tell you guys more about the phone. As you can see here, it does use Samsung's TouchWiz UI. The phone ships with Android 2.2, which is great and fantastic. It does use TouchWiz UI, and that's, love it or hate it. I mean, everyone feels differently about it. Some people like it, some people can't stand it. Of course, you can draw the obvious comparisons to iOS, simply because of the way that this menu looks. Personally, TouchWiz doesn't bother me. I've always liked TouchWiz. It's probably my favorite UI, but I know that not everyone is going to like it. So, just to point that out, a couple of things that you're going to see differently are you have this dock at the bottom. Of course, the menu is a little bit different. You can put this into a list view if you would like, but it's kind of easier to have it in a grid view. And then the notification bar is a little bit darker, as you can see. And then you also have these toggle buttons. So it kind of just, to me, stock Android is great, and Android OS is great, but TouchWiz and other UIs just kind of make it a little more pretty, I think. And so, that's personally why I like it, but everyone's going to feel differently. And then it does come with a few custom widgets. You can see the AccuWeather clock is that clock that I had on the home screen there. And then you can see a couple that I've downloaded. But you have your typical Android widgets, calendar, Facebook, some more that I've downloaded. It does come with this Mako Space, friend updates. That's again a custom widget. Program Monitor, that's the app. The widget that you can use to monitor the apps that are currently running, and then the Yahoo Finance clock and YouTube. So, not a whole lot of custom widgets, which some people will like. It does have some custom Metro PCS, bloatware, custom pre-installed apps. It kind of bothers me because yes, these things are necessary, but it's kind of become one of those things that we've just had to accept. So you have the App Store, a Metro PCS App Store, totally unnecessary, but it's there. You also have a custom email app, again unnecessary because Samsung and Android has its own email app. Plus you have a Gmail app, and most email clients like Yahoo, they have their own email apps as well, so that's not really necessary either. IMing and social, it's a smartphone. You can download whatever social app you want to download. So, you can see some more here: Metro 411, Easy Wi-Fi, Metro Web, My Extras. They're not necessary. There's a lot of them. They're there, and there's not really a whole lot that you can do about it. So, at this point, we've just kind of had to deal with it. It does come with Iron Man 2 pre-installed, which is pretty cool. That is actually pre-installed on the micro SD card, which I believe is underneath the battery cover. Yeah. So, I don't know, it's kind of annoying that you have to take off the cover to get to it, but whoops, did you see that? It just popped right out. That was actually kind of cool. So here's the micro SD card. It's a 4 GB card, as you can see, and the film takes up a good chunk of that, about half of it actually. So it's 4 gigs, so you have about 2 gigs left over after the film. So, not too bad. Let me see if I can get the card back in there. But it does come with Iron Man 2, which is pretty cool. It's kind of become a popular trend these days, phones coming with movies, but it does come with that pre-installed. Now I'll talk a little bit about the keyboard. It does have a physical keyboard, as I said, and it also has a couple of options for a virtual keyboard. So here, this is Samsung's custom keyboard, and then you also have the Android keyboard, just a stock Android keyboard, and then you also have a swipe. So a lot of options there, which I think is great. I mean, I personally, usually I use all three of these keyboards because they're good for different situations. But then of course you have the physical keyboard, which is what you're going to use most of the time. Now the physical keyboard is, you know, it's okay. I mean, it's not fantastic, but it's not bad. You know, it's definitely usable. I'll point out a couple of things that that are sort of negatives that take away from it being a better keyboard than what it is. One of the things is that, as you can see, you may not be able to tell very well, but the keys are very, very flat. You can see that they're flat, but you really don't know exactly how flat they are until you actually feel it. I mean, they're almost lower than the plastic molding around the keys, and you may be able to see that if you look closely. So, you know, they're actually flatter than this plastic molding, so when I'm feeling around for a key, you know, it's a little bit harder to use. For me, it's a little easier because, you know, I'm a girl, I have nails, so I can use those. But if I were to just use, you know, my thumbs, my fingers, that kind of makes it a little bit harder to use. It's not a big deal, but it's definitely a negative. I mean, it's nicer when you have a keyboard where the keys are raised, you can feel them, you can get some traction there, and with this you just don't have that. Another thing that's kind of a negative is that there's not a lot of dedicated, actually there's no dedicated keys for punctuation beside the period, you know, which is all the way over there, which is just kind of weird. And then you have, you know, question mark, you're going to use function to get to that, comma, you're going to use function to get to that, apostrophe. So, you know, I understand that it's a smaller keyboard, so they kind of had to make everything work. And these are, you know, very minor things. You may think I'm just being extremely picky. That was my computer telling me what time it is. But they are negatives, and they are things that you are going to have to get used to. How long will it take you to get used to it? You know, maybe not very long. It may not bother you at all, but it's definitely things worth noting. I think the keys definitely could have been raised a little bit more, and then, you know, just the placement of all these punctuation keys kind of gets to me. I'm not even going to point out the space bar in between the B and the N because, you know, no one likes it whenever I point that out, but I kind of did just then. So anyway, the keyboard is fine. It's definitely usable. It's not the best one that I've ever used, but it's decent. It does the job, and I think it's, you know, it's usable. It's a good keyboard. If you don't like it, you know, of course you can use the virtual keyboard, as I pointed out. Okay, so lastly, the battery. It has a 1500 milliamp hour battery, which is about standard size. You know, we've seen larger, but about 1500 is usually what we see. And in reading other reviews, I've heard some people complain about battery life. And so you know, I took note of that and I gave it special attention. So I'm going to tell you in my testing, you know, exactly what I did and what the results were. So I went on a road trip, as I said, and I used this phone for navigation. So I was using Google Maps, GPS was on, and I was getting, you know, turn-by-turn directions for pretty much the whole day. It was about, we started, you know, in the afternoon, and the battery went dead probably by about 6:30. So it lasted about 6.5 hours with heavy use. I mean, you know, turn-by-turn navigation, that's basically constantly using the battery, the processor. So with heavy use, it lasted about 6.5 hours, which isn't bad. And then I tested it by just, you know, letting it sit for a whole day, not doing anything to it. It was still pulling email, it was still pulling updates for, you know, Twitter, but I wasn't actually doing anything with the phone. And with that, it lasted a little over 12 hours, which is almost an entire day, basically. You know, if you get up at 6 and then you get off work at 6, you know, pretty much a whole day. So, I don't know, in my testing, battery performance was not horrible. It definitely could have been better, but I think it was, you know, basically the same as what I've tested with other Android smartphones. So for me, you know, battery life was normal. So, you know, other people have said that it doesn't have great battery life or that battery life is horrible. You know, I don't know if maybe their tests were different than mine. Obviously, mine were not very scientific, but I will say that battery performance was normal. It was what I expected, and it will probably get you through a whole day, at least into the evening. Maybe not into, you know, the entire day until you go to bed, but at least until the evening, you know, maybe when you get home and you can charge it. So that's pretty much it. Samsung Galaxy Indulge. It's a great phone, and I think it is, you know, easily the best phone on Metro PCS. I mean, that's really, you know, no question. 4G was spectacular. I was definitely very impressed with it. And then just the phone itself, the processor kept up with everything. I was disappointed by the camera, but, you know, it's, you know, that may bother some people and may not bother some people. The physical keyboard was okay. Now the price, it's $400, and you know, Metro PCS, so there's no contract, so no subsidized price. It's just $400 straight up. Is it worth $400? You know, I really don't think so. I mean, yeah, it would be really convenient to have these super fast 4G speeds, even when you're not, you know, near a Wi-Fi hotspot. You know, it would be nice to have a Galaxy device, but $400, I mean, if you have that, then go ahead and spend it. It's a great device, but I don't know, I think it's just a little bit too much, you know, for a phone. Even though it is a great phone, you know, I just think it might be too much, but that's coming from me, you know, that's a very personal thing, but it is $400. Also, because it's an LTE device, you're going to have to get either the $50 or the $60 monthly plans. So, you know, Metro is famous for their $40 unlimited everything plans, but their 4G plans are $50 and $60. Still unlimited everything data, messaging, unlimited minutes. There's a couple of, I believe, just media options that are different with the $60 plan, but you'll have to look into that. So there it is, guys. Samsung Galaxy Indulge 4G phone. I was very impressed with it, and go check it out if you're in a 4G market. It's definitely a great phone. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you have any questions, you can follow me on Twitter. My screen name is It's My Job to Know. Just send me a message, and I'll try my best to answer it as soon as possible. Also, check out PhoneDog.com for more news, updates, and reviews. Again, thanks for watching this video. I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com, and I'll see you guys later.